Trump is back, and so is his aggressive China policy.
That's for sure.
After years of preparation, can Beijing fight back stronger, or is it on the brink of collapse? During his first term, Trump's trade war with China reached new heights. In 2018, he slapped tariffs on over $360 billion worth of Chinese goods, leading to China's GDP growth slowing to just 6% in 2019, the weakest in nearly 30 years.
Yes, it's terrible. Most countries in the world can't even dream of this kind of GDP growth.
Then came tech bans. Huawei was cut off from crucial US suppliers, and semiconductor restrictions forced China to scramble for chip independence. Tensions in the South China Sea and Trump's unprecedented support for Taiwan further fueled the fire. By 2020, 80% of Americans viewed China as a threat. Now, Trump is returning with promises of tougher tariffs, stricter tech sanctions, and even fiercer diplomacy. But China isn't the same country it was in 2018. It's adapted, formed new alliances, and strengthened its economy. Guys, hit the like button, subscribe, and let's find the answer to the real question. Can China survive this new Trump era? Or will this second showdown push it to its breaking point?
One thing is clear, the stakes have never been higher.
Trump is back in the White House, and so is his hardline stance on China. But will his second term be more of the same, or is Beijing facing an even bigger challenge this time? Trump's America First agenda is in full swing again. His goal? Bring manufacturing back home and weaken China's grip on global supply chains. During his first term, tariffs on Chinese goods pushed some businesses to relocate, but many moved to Vietnam, Mexico, or India instead. Now, Trump is taking it further, pushing for massive reshoring incentives and tougher restrictions on companies that rely on Chinese production. His administration is also tightening tech restrictions, aiming to cut China off from the most advanced semiconductor technology. The US already blocked chip exports to China, and Trump's new policies could hit even harder, directly impacting Chinese giants like Huawei and SMIC. Trump's first-term trade war cost China an estimated $550 billion in lost exports and slowed its economy. Now, he's floating the idea of a 60% tariff on all Chinese imports, which would be the most extreme economic move yet. So how will China fight back? In the past, Beijing hit US farmers by cutting soybean and pork imports, but China is now more economically fragile. With youth unemployment above 15% and its real estate sector in crisis, can it afford to go head-to-head with Washington again? Trump's first term was unpredictable. One day he was imposing tariffs, the next he was negotiating a trade deal. Will his second term be more strategic, or will it be another roller coaster? One thing is certain, the US-China rivalry is heating up, and this time the stakes are even higher. Will China survive Trump's even tougher second-term policies, or will the US-China rivalry push Beijing to the brink? Share your thoughts in the comments. China's tech ambitions are under attack. Trump has doubled down on sanctions, pushing Beijing into a race for self-reliance. But can China truly break free? The US has blocked China from buying top-tier chips.
Not these, but these ones.
They also cut off access to key suppliers like Taiwan's TSMC and the Netherlands' ASML. In response, China has poured over $140 billion into its semiconductor industry, but it's still years behind. Without cutting-edge chips, China's AI, military, and consumer tech industries could stall. AI is the new arms race, and Trump is determined to keep the US ahead. His administration is restricting Chinese access to AI chips from NVIDIA and AMD, aiming to slow Beijing's progress in facial recognition, surveillance, and autonomous weapons. But China isn't backing down. It's ramping up domestic AI research and buying lower-tier chips in bulk to work around restrictions. Huawei, once a global leader in 5G, lost over $30 billion after US sanctions hit. Now, Chinese tech giants like Tencent, ByteDance, and Alibaba face tougher restrictions. Can they find loopholes, or will Trump's second term cripple their global ambitions? The tech war is just getting started. Trump's policies are ramping up the pressure, but China isn't just sitting back. The world's second-largest economy is working to shield itself. The big question, is China strong enough to withstand the storm?
It's a tricky one.
Beijing has been reducing its reliance on US trade, shifting focus towards Southeast Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. ASEAN became China's top trading partner, surpassing the US. China's biggest economic headache isn't Trump, but its collapsing property sector. Real estate makes up over 25% of China's GDP, and giants like Evergrande and Country Garden are drowning in debt. Add in local government debt nearing 13 trillion, and Beijing faces an uphill battle to keep its economy stable. A weak economy could make China more vulnerable to U.S. pressure. China's $1 trillion Belt and Road Initiative has expanded its influence across the globe. By strengthening ties with developing nations, China hopes to counterbalance U.S. economic attacks. The Taiwan question has always been a ticking time bomb in U.S.-China relations. But under Trump's second term, that clock might be speeding up. Trump has already ramped up military aid to Taiwan, approving billions in arms sales. Some reports suggest he might even push for official recognition, a move that would cross China's biggest red line. If that happens, Beijing's response could be swift and severe. For China, Taiwan isn't just another dispute, it's a core national issue. Beijing has repeatedly warned that any move toward independence would mean war. The Chinese military has already increased airspace incursions and naval drills around Taiwan, signaling that it's ready to act. But how far is China truly willing to go? With U.S. warships increasing patrols in the Taiwan Strait and China ramping up military drills, the potential for an armed clash has never been higher. Trump's administration has already sent high-level U.S. officials to Taipei, signaling stronger diplomatic ties. If he goes even further, such as deploying U.S. forces for direct military exercises with Taiwan, it could push China toward a decisive response. If a single miscalculation occurs, whether an accidental military encounter or an unauthorized engagement, it could spiral into a major geopolitical crisis. China is working hard to strengthen its global alliances as U.S. pressure mounts. One of its biggest bets is deepening ties with Russia and BRICS nations. Trade between China and Russia hit a record $240 billion in 2024. And both countries are pushing for more trade in local currencies to reduce reliance on the U.S. dollar. Meanwhile, Europe is caught in the middle. On one hand, countries like Germany and France still rely heavily on Chinese trade, with China being the EU's biggest trading partner. On the other hand, Trump's return could push Europe closer to Washington, especially if he pressures NATO allies to take a stronger stance against Beijing. If Europe leans more toward the US, China could lose a major economic lifeline. Then there's the Global South, where China has spent years building influence through its Belt and Road Initiative, BRI. Over $1 trillion has been invested in Africa, Latin America, and the Middle East, financing roads, railways, and ports. Trump's aggressive policies are putting China under immense pressure, but Beijing is not backing down. With tariffs rising and tech restrictions tightening, China faces serious economic challenges. Its real estate crisis, high youth unemployment, and mounting debt add to the strain. However, its massive manufacturing base and expanding global trade network still give it leverage. The next few years could define the future of U.S.-China relations. A prolonged trade war could reshape global supply chains, while military tensions over Taiwan could escalate into a full-scale crisis. Meanwhile, China's strategic alliances and investments in the Global South may help it weather the storm. This is one of the most pivotal moments in modern geopolitics. Either China adapts and emerges stronger, or Trump's second presidency marks a turning point that forces Beijing into a prolonged struggle. One thing is certain, this era will shape the balance of power for years to come. What do you think? Will China emerge stronger from this challenge, or is Trump's second term the biggest threat to its rise? Share your thoughts in the comments. Also, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and share this video to stay updated on our upcoming content. Catch you in the next one.